Resident Evil. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite gaming franchises. I I'll admit I'm a new fan to Resident Evil. I I've only started playing within like the last year, so I think I started playing Resident Evil 2 remake. I don't know, probably beginning of this year, January 2026. I'd say. Probably actually no earlier. I played it earlier because I think it was like late 2025, but I dropped it for a bit, picked it up because I was a bitch and I was scared. Anyways, that's besides the point. My main point today is the whole accusing people of being larpers in Resident Evil. Uh, Obviously, you have your prime examples of like Baby No Money and others who are just hopping on a trend with the release of Resident Evil 9 way back when. I say way back when, it was like a month or two ago. But no, I honestly just wanted to talk about how I think that the whole concept of calling someone a LARPer or the meme of like LARPing something is kind of just completely, it's just kind of lost its meaning. I mean, because listen, here's what you have actual LARPing, which is live action roleplay, usually has a Venn diagram crossover between the D&D community and the fantasy community with what you would normally associate LARPing with, which would be dressing up in sort of fantasy garments, having set rules to sort of like have a pretend war essentially, not too dissimilar to like Milsim and Airsoft, but now it's turned into sort of like poser, like the word poser. I don't understand why we're calling people larpers when we have a word for it already, which was poser. You know what I mean? Like pretending to like something to look cool, right? Like people pretending to like something to look cool has been a thing forever, like literally like forever. Like I don't understand why it's become such a widespread issue now, where people who didn't get in on ground level are now larping their enjoyment of something. Because let me preface, because I come from the Gundam community. You know what I mean? Like the Gundam community, at least with the sort of model building side of things, because I should specify the Gundam model kit building community, very welcoming to everybody. You know what I mean? But it's also probably, at least in North America, I think that's probably because there's so little of us out here. You know what I mean? I feel like it's kind of a small community. I feel like I've never met someone who's like actually enjoyed Gundam in person. But that's besides the point. Resident Evil. But yeah, no, I come from that community of being accepting, and it used to be if you knew about this IP or this like community or like just video game in general, it was like, oh my god, dude, you like the same things, let's be friends, let's talk about it, this, that, and the other. Now it's almost turned into the sort of like Nirvana like poser, like Nirvana t-shirt, name 4 songs that aren't Smells Like Teen Spirit, Heart Shaped Box, and like 2 other popular songs that I can't name because I'm not a Nirvana fan. You know what I mean? It's almost turned into that again, to where it's almost this supremacist mindset of, like I said, just this sort of, if you didn't get on ground level, if you didn't grow up playing the original Resident Evil games on like the PlayStation 1, you're not a real Resident Evil fan. Or if you haven't played everything from Resident Evil to Code Veronica to Resident Evil 5 to Resident Evil 8 to 9, you're not a Resident Evil fan. You know what I mean? It's just this, it's so weird to me. Because don't get me wrong, I'm not someone who's played the original Resident Evil games, but I have played a good amount of Resident Evil games. I've played Resident Evil Remake 2, Resident Evil Remake 3, Remake 4. I'm playing 5 right now. I have 6, I have 7, I have 8. I'm going to play 9, and I have every intention of playing 2002 Resident Evil, as well as Resident Evil 0, and the Code Veronica remake, and the 9 DLC that's supposed to come out. Like, I have every intention to play those. Like, I'm paying attention to Resident Evil and what Capcom's trying to do with Resident Evil, and I still feel like people would call me a LARPer because I haven't touched the original games. And again, I understand if people claim not to like the older Resident Evil games because they're older games or because they have quote-unquote tank controls. I get that. Like, I understand not wanting to play a game because it's old. Hell, I'm not a fan of playing old games either. But I want to play these games. Like, Resident Evil is not just like Like if I didn't think it would be fun, I wouldn't play it. And if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't play it. Like that's my mentality when it comes to things. But the oldest Resident Evil game I've touched has been Resident Evil 5, and that came out what, 2009? But it's still a blast. It may not be what people would consider Resident Evil, but it's still a really good game. Resident Evil 5 is incredibly fun. It's, like I said, it may not be what you consider a Resident Evil game. I think that was the main complaint with 6 as well, is that it didn't feel like Resident Evil, like how 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 all felt like Resident Evil games, and then 5 kind of lost the plot, you know what I mean? And then 6 threw the plot out the window, from what I understand. But I don't think that someone who's actually a fan of Resident Evil would say the games are bad. You can have criticisms of the games, but calling it bad because it doesn't feel like a Resident Evil feels a bit backwards towards me. Because it's all Resident Evil, you know what I mean? Like, it's just because it's different doesn't make it a Resident Evil. I understand Resident Evil has certain themes, you know, the concepts of loss, dealing with grief, the concepts of dealing with a stronger, almost imposing, impossible to get rid of power that you still have to fight against, and that feeling of complete just helplessness in the face of such a strong adverse enemy, yet still pushing forward, right? Like, if those themes are lost, I understand that, right? But it's all still Resident Evil, even if the themes change, even if it feels like there is no themes, even if the themes are shallow, it's all still Resident Evil, and you can find things to enjoy in those Resident Evil games. Like, I haven't played 6, but I've played 5, and I can see the issue that people might have with 5 already, is that it feels way too much like an action game. But that's not to discredit it. It feels like an action game. That's not a bad thing. If anything, it's a great thing, because it already means that it's a great, fun action game. You know what I mean? Like, it may not feel like the survival horror game that 2 and 3 and 1 felt like, right? But it feels like that almost action horror game that I think defined 5 and 6, and to a degree 7 and 8. 7 is horror, without a doubt, but 8 is definitely on that, I think, that precipice of where 2 and 3 sit at, of being that sort of action horror, because they still have, I think 2 more than anything else has had that horror. I think 4 kind of brought it back a bit, because 3 kind of lost its little horror aspects. But I still wanted to talk about 3. I wanted to talk about the remakes, because I'm kind of losing the point, because I had a reason why I'm using 3 gameplay, and that's because I enjoy Resident Evil 3. I think it's a fun, good game. I think it's a good Resident Evil game, because it has the themes of Resident Evil 2. It had themes from Resident Evil. It continued themes onto Resident Evil 4. I think of again, the dealing with grief, dealing with an overwhelming force in front of you, yet still pushing forward, and the literal personification of Nemesis, right? But I think it's also just a fun game, and it's not even that it's not scary too, because you have the hospital with the hunters. You know, you have the like kind of creepy, icky horror of being in the, I forget the actual name, but like that spider's nest when you're turning on the power. Like, you have those horror elements in there, right? You have the elements of the jump scares with the boss fights, with Nemesis. You have the body horror of Nemesis as an entity in itself. I think what they did with Nemesis, hot take, might be a bit more interesting than what was originally in Resident Evil 3, which had Resident Evil 3 Nemesis in it. You know what I mean? For sake of closing arguments, I just have to say, don't be a piece of shit, okay? I don't get the people who go online and call people LARPers because they know less than you, or they made a silly mistake typing a name wrong or forgetting the specific sequence of events in a game. Like, just don't be a dick. People have to start somewhere in the franchise. You cannot blame someone for not wanting to play a game from the 80s and then play subsequent almost dozens of more games after that. You know, like, at the expense of sounding like an unk, back in my day, when someone you met knew the media that you liked, you became friends with them. You shared more of the media you liked with them. You told them to watch that, or to play that, or to read this, and they would do the same, and you would enjoy the media together. Now it's just people gatekeeping for no reason. don't be assholes, guys. Just stop. You know, shit's cringe. Anyways, I'm out.